Call a meeting to order with a roll call.
Cheryl Sanger, alternate.
Nancy Knight, member.
Terry Waite, member.
Ray Kachowski, member.
Cindy Picos, member.
Wendy Rathgeber, alternate.
Harry Notes, alternate. Bill Larson, ex officio.
Okay, let's see. We seated Wendy last time. So we'll seat Cheryl in place of Bob and Harry in place of Kathy Kennedy. Acceptance of the minutes of the April 10th, 2014 meeting. Just look at Terry.
Well, they had me listed as absent, but I was here.
Yeah, and they didn't have me down, and I was here. I'm just checking against my notes. Yeah, that was it.
What was that?
Hmm?
Did you catch the correction?
I wasn't, Cheryl wasn't put down that she attended, and I wasn't, and here comes Kathy now.
No.
Another correction is under the committee reports, and it's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 6th paragraph down. I don't think that it was Nancy's door that they were knocking on. It was mine.
You are.
Cheryl.
The offices. Comments?
Yeah, from the last one?
Yeah.
Yeah. They were all kind of discombobulated. This is the way my printer was, but yeah, they all.
This is the building.
Where's Bob Gilbert today?
What page you on?
Good question.
He's on vacation in Florida.
Look at the
There you go.
elected, they're re-elected.
So Kathy. Kathy was not. So it's Bob.
Yeah, no, but then it said who was
Terry was Bob.
who was appointed. Yeah, it just seemed like that should come before.
Okay.
I just have one comment. Under administration, the second paragraph says the nomination was made to appoint Ray Kachowski as chair. And then the next paragraph says Ray Kachowski, Bob Gilbert, and Wendy were reappointed. I think that reappointed should come in front. I think that was reappointed before we had the elections. Hmm? No, it just seemed like we had to be reappointed first. Any other comments? Have a motion?
Motion to accept the minutes.
All in favor?
I need a second.
Okay. Any against? None? Okay, good. Old business, none? New business, Green Peak, the drive-through in Gordon Way.
Ah, yes.
So, who wants to speak to that? You want to tell us?
You want to speak, or do you want me to? I live there, which is I'm
Right.
taking a dual role here. Yeah, there's Bob Gilbert had suggested a little path, a little asphalt path between Green Peak. This is between Gorewood Drive and the parking lot at Black Bear. And there is it's grass, and then there's a small walking path to go through to the parking lot. And if you enter, you can take a look when you drive by, but you cannot see it. It looks like a drive-through. It looks like, why can't I just keep going and go right to the parking lot? Which indeed people do.
Now you're talking about cars.
Yes, and trucks.
Okay.
People are fine. That's why the path is there.
I had pulled out the old letter from one of the meetings where Cantlin was noted about that. Was that ever followed up on?
The July 12th meeting?
Yeah.
Where I didn't know that there was an issue. I thought that it was supposed to be the way that it is.
Yeah.
Without a bollard or without a
Yeah.
gate or anything.
Right.
I thought that there were some plantings that
No.
were supposed to be done.
Yeah.
That were supposed to be done there that would make it obvious, but that our emergency vehicles
Could get through.
could still go over
If they need to.
So,
So it was designed for the purpose of for the emergency vehicle.
there's gravel underneath there so that it will support the emergency vehicles. And we could even plow it in the winter if we needed to get through there and get say a fire truck on that end of the Black Bear Lodge or whatever. So that's the way I thought it was supposed to be set up.
What's happened now is I think there's been some settling, so it's not quite as big of a mound.
Right.
And all the snow was piled there over the winter, so all the sand and gravel is also on where the grass was. So seriously, when you go by, I mean, if I didn't live there and I went by, I would assume it was a go through. I can't blame the people because you can't tell the difference. You can't see the path from the gravel. It's all gravel, so it just looks like go.
Okay. Well, we'll just make sure they revegetate it and that it's blocked off.
Or vegetated period.
It was supposed to have just a little bit of a rise, so it wasn't easy for cars to go through, but the emergency vehicles could make it through. And it was supposed to have some vegetation there, so that it was obvious that it was not a pass-through.
It was my understanding that the elevation change in the grassed-in area would be enough so that people wouldn't go on it. And
So if it's settled, then it's not.
Wait a minute.
Well,
Last weekend, a black Silverado took the turn, blew by 30 miles an hour, and went straight through. All right. Every weekend where there are activity in the valley, there's at least 6 or 7 cars that cut through there.
Do they all go in the same direction?
Oh yes,
Yes.
to the parking.
I shouldn't say all. I've seen a couple, but the vast majority, over 90%, go down Gorewood into Black Bear. I spoke to the police and the fire people last night and asked them whether, I'm sure Mark, you've done it too, and asked them what kind of issues they would have, and they said they would have no problem with little shrubs there, fire trucks going right through it, the police cars will go right through it, but it is something that will at least tell people that they shouldn't. So.
Because it was my recollection that we approved it with thinking that the grass was going to be enough, but we had lengthy discussions about 3 options. And they were planting shrubs that they could drive over, a fence, or the last option was the removable bollards. And I talked to Chris a little bit yesterday at the police academy, and I asked them how often that they would anticipate something like that, and he said it would lead to another fire hydrant. So it sounds like, do you have an association there?
Not yet. I think I'm the association.
We're in.
Oh, well, then fix
I'm the
it.
president. I'm the only one.
Well,
I will give myself permission to plant shrubs.
So I guess the option is either a split rail fence or shrubs that they can drive through. So,
Now, I guess they couldn't do boulders. I think the best idea, personally, would just be, big rocks.
Yeah, but that's
No.
gonna keep.
But
the
that's,
emergency vehicle.
exactly,
I
exactly.
think the split rail fence is probably the best way to go. They,
Yeah, he said that
they can go
they
right
can
through it.
take it
So-
out, well,
Yeah.
so,
This is private property?
Yeah.
yeah, now that brings up the next question. Whose responsibility is it?
Yeah, who owns it? Does it Black Bear own it? Does Green Peak own it? Does the town own it?
Waterville Company owns the
Uh-huh.
land.
Well, like, that land?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
Waterville Company.
The parking lot they own at Black Bear, don't they?
Yeah,
Well, they own, well, they have easements, in favor of the lodge,
But
but,
since it was part of our approval, it would be the builder's responsibility, wouldn't it?
I would think so.
I would think so. It
Yes,
be
I would
either
too.
the builders or the association that put it up.
But why
But
make the
there,
homeowners?
but if he
pay?
hasn't sold that land,
Right.
then it would be him. 3 sections of split rail fence would be plenty to get people to
Oh,
go
yeah.
in that corner.
You could see it from the road,
Yeah.
because if
Right.
you do something too low, you won't see it from the, from,
yeah.
Does that, the split between phase 1 and phase 2 goes right down the middle of that road, doesn't it? So that phase 2 would own that land at this point.
Well, there is
No, the
phase
whole
two.
road is.
Well, okay.
the
Well, you would
whole
take a
road
left.
is in there.
The proposed phase 2.
Yeah.
Proposed phase 2, but I mean, it's still land owned by, no?
No, you approved the entire road and the one section that has the 3 units on it. That's approved.
Right, but I think the property line goes right down the middle of that road, doesn't it? Between phase 1 and unphased? That was what
Yeah,
the
it
big
does.
deal was about.
It does.
It does?
So the property would still be part of the unphased.
I thought it was approved all the way to the end and then it became part of the unphased. Is that?
yeah, well, you go on Gorewood and then you take a left onto Devereux Way. That left, Devereux Way, I think is done until the end when they're gonna build new
Pretty sure
buildings.
that's part of
We're
phase
talking
one.
about straight ahead on
The
Gorewood
road is
Drive.
definitely approved, yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
Where the property line is, I think.
the property line is at the end.
I'd have to
after
review that,
the
but I
building.
think it went down the middle of that
Really?
road, but,
Yeah, we had a lot of discussion
yeah, there was
about,
quite a bit of discussion.
about what would happen if things were built on the other side of that road.
That's
and
right.
where the responsibility would
Yeah.
lie. So,
No,
Right.
so I think it is down there.
But,
Yep.
but that lot line for phase 1 is further down
Yeah.
than the, where we're talking about, the cut through.
Right.
So that's definitely Cantlin's land.
Why is it that you lean toward a split rail fence as opposed to some bushes or some?
Because it is called. It doesn't matter to a fire truck. I mean, you can go right through it. So I think that's gonna be the quickest way or the easiest way to get them to actually go around the corner.
The problem with a
onto
split
the
rail
other
fence is
road.
it becomes a maintenance issue after a while, you know, those things, by the time snowplow gets done with it.
Well, but you could even remove it because in the winter they plow.
You
the
can't go
snow
through. It's
so that you
9
can't
feet.
get through. So they could actually, and we used to do that. There's a there used to be a culvert or a drainage structure right there, just about the same place that we're talking about. That was very deep, and we built a split rail fence around it. Same thing as we did up here on the sidewalk by the Jugtown PUD, and we take them out in the winter, and then we can maintain them.
Yeah. There's 9 foot of snow there in the winter. Nobody's going over that thing.
Who would take that out?
Maintenance company. It's not a public
Mark,
way.
is it fair to say that from the town's perspective, we don't have any enforcement authority at all? I mean,
Well-
we've issued an occupancy permit, right? It's all private land.
Well, except they would have to abide by the approval of the planning board on the
Yeah,
site
but I
plan.
suppose they don't. I'm
Bill?
not sure there's anything we can do.
Bill, a letter.
Well, no, then we could
We can
go
send
in-
out letters, but what can we do?
We could go in and build what we want so
Oh,
that it meets the
yeah.
site plan and then build them.
Yeah, but the problem is, it's always like we grant these approvals, I'm assuming at the time we grant the approval.
Was sent, I gave it to Mark and we copied it last time, that Cantlin was made aware of the situation and was supposed to
Yeah.
correct it. And that was issued
Well-
back in June, or sometime back then.
Didn't that letter talk about a speed bump?
It wasn't I don't remember.
It's not gonna do any good.
Originally the speed bump.
No.
It was originally a pass-through with the speed
With the
bump
speed
to
bump.
slow it up.
And
when-
then that was changed.
Right.
Yeah.
Then when we saw the elevation change, we said, well, now it's no longer a cut-through. And because of the elevation change, that was acceptable because it was obvious that it wasn't a cut-through because it looked like a steep bank.
But it was
Now it's
agreed
not so
to,
steep.
but it was agreed to, I don't know, at least verbally by Cantlin and everybody else, that if there was a problem that developed, that more action would be taken.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's in the minutes,
Well,
so
then ask
that's
Cantlin if-
actionable.
Yeah.
But if he refuses, I don't know.
Well, let's ask him to fix it. And it's in the
What
minute.
we
We
can
have it
do.
in the minutes, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
I don't.
Yeah, I don't think he's gonna have a problem putting up those sections of
What's that?
fence. I don't think he's gonna have a problem
No.
fixing it, so just go see him today and ask him to fix it.
Or you could, do pine trees too,
The truck
For the
can't go through it.
emergency,
Can't go
Yeah,
through
but they're
it.
gonna go through it so rarely that,
All it takes is once.
I would think
One
bushes though,
fire.
I would think bushes would be the better solution than a split rail fence, because once they're in, they're there.
You're still gonna maintain it.
Yeah.
Well, what's there to maintain bush? I mean, you can trim it if you want, but.
And when the snow gets on, it's kills it.
yeah, 9 feet of snow on it might be a little much.
I don't know.
That's where it's all plowed into that one area, from the parking lot and from Gorwood Drive.
I think that fence would be knocked over as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
well,
not
anything
if
you
it's
do.
taken down.
Down, yeah.
Well, I don't think it's gonna be taken
I
down.
mean, if they're plowing into that corner to get rid of the snow.
Yes.
Everything is gonna, no matter what you do, it's gonna get
Yeah,
torn out
it's
Yes.
everywhere. So the association, and whoever owns it, ought to get together and decide what it wants to do.
That's me.
to prevent that from happening.
Well, that's
Yeah, but-
why I said, it's the owners who are complaining,
Yeah,
and should be an association there.
right.
Well,
Well, it has to be an association.
Yeah, I
Could be
know.
Whatever company, there is an association that
But
exists.
there must be, well, you got 3 owners, right?
No, one of them is there very rarely. That's part-time. It's a vacation
Yeah, but
home.
the
Yeah.
developer would be the other one.
The other owner.
Yeah, the
There's
developer
3 owners.
is considered
There's a
the.
question. Who owns that strip of land?
That's what we were
It's
saying. The
probably owned by
Waterville.
Waterville
The
company.
water-
That's probably owned by the Waterville Company, not the association.
Right.
So the association I don't know, Bill, I can
Right.
ask, I mean, we can just.
You were caught in this, it's
Yeah.
one of the reasons why we shouldn't approve split roads and constructions that's, part of plans that are on other people's property.
Yeah.
Because in the end, you're depending on your neighbor and in this case, it's the same guy owned the land, so, yeah, we'll do that.
Right.
But now,
Well,
let's ask him to fix it and see what he does.
Yeah.
when we discussed phase 2,
Yeah,
determined that Gorwood Way and Devereaux Way were really internal roads.
right.
Yes.
And the definition of an internal road says it has to be on the site.
Right,
And we missed that on that first phase.
right.
And that would have eliminated the problem. Mark?
Does the approval that the planning board gave prevent a do you care if there is a pass-through road to the back of Black Bear? Was it your intent
Yeah.
to prevent pass-through?
Yes, it was.
Okay, then that's what we should do. Whoever pays for it, if that's still the way you want to go, then we'll find out who has to do it. But if that was part of your site plan approval, then that's what we need to enforce.
Right.
Okay.
However we do it, I don't know yet, but if that's what you want enforced, then that's what we're gonna do.
Yeah, the approval
Okay.
was definitely no cut through.
Whether it was the elevation,
Whether it
whether it
was-
was bushes, whether it was
Yeah.
a fence, you don't care.
We don't really care.
You just don't want a
They
set
might care,
pass
but we
through.
don't.
Right, well, it's up to them if they
Right.
wanna do something.
No, I
As
don't
long as-
care.
As long as there's no pass through, you're okay
Right.
with that.
In fact, if you wanted to decide to make the pass through and have a real road there, that's fine too. But since we're not, that's fine.
Yeah. So
Okay,
do we
well-
need to vote on anything?
I'm easy.
Unless you want to, I don't.
Probably not, because it's just kind of an enforcement thing, I guess.
Sure.
So Mark, you'll take care of
Yeah,
following it up.
I'll call Bill.
Okay. Okay, I guess that was easy.
Well, easier
Button.
said.
Yeah.
Police Academy yesterday. The easy button?
Yeah, that was good.
Police Academy had us
Oh, yeah, that
searching
was
around
fun.
for clues, and one of the clues was it's easy. And it was one of those old Staples easy button things
Yeah.
we found. Anyway, report from the Planning and Zoning Conference. Oh, yeah, that was interesting. Two things. And I brought back a handout, we can pass some of these around. These are just for your information. That's enough there. Kind of, this was in the basic,
Oh, I'm
planning
sorry.
board basics.
She's gonna need one. That's all right.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, yeah. Plenty. Yeah, there's spares over there too. So this was just kind of the outline of their talk, and it just kind of highlights some of the things that the planning board should be aware of. One thing that kind of popped out to me, they made a pretty lengthy discussion about rules and procedures. We have a rule of procedure. I think maybe it's time to go back and look at it. So maybe for the next meeting or so, everybody take a look at it, review it, see if it's still, if it needs any changes. Does everybody have a copy? Okay, good. And the other class that I attended was kind of interesting. I think you're gonna like this one. But told us about how to review drawings. And I thought I had something else completely in mind that thought it was going to be very repetitive. But they said that, when we review drawings, we review black and white drawings, two-dimensional drawings. And they made a big discussion about going in and using some colors.
Very good idea.
And
Good idea.
one of the guys said, well, we don't get the drawings till we sit down at the meeting. And she said, okay, we'll sit down at the drawing and just highlight a couple of things. And within minutes, we had something like this. You can see where the roads are, the buildings. Yeah,
Terrific.
That's a great idea.
That's a good idea.
Yep.
coloring the drawings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I
You
like
see
it.
tree lines, boundaries, pops right out at you.
That's good.
Great idea.
You're the secretary, you can color all the time.
Okay, my magic markers.
Yeah.
So it was interesting, and
That's a good one.
the views up there are great. Report from the Scenic Byways.
We were the only town that showed up.
Oh no!
Well, they had it during some vacation week in this area. What did they expect?
It was like,
So frustrating.
John was there, Eric was there, Stan and I were there. Matt was there from the Black Bear. That's it. But we did make a lot of, they were totally unaware, and we learned a lot too from Cantlin, from not knowing that Triple I Road was supposed to be a thorough road.
Yeah.
And funding dried up, so it never became, that exit off of 93 was built specifically in according to Bill, he said it was very costly, but they were supposed to have paved that all the way through, so there was
Oh.
an in and out for Waterville Valley, which I didn't know.
No.
I also didn't know that in the winter months, that was starting to be groomed because of the lack of snow on the natural trails. So he said about 7 years ago, I don't know for sure, but that was not part of the plan initially.
You mean on the cross-country system?
Yeah,
Cross-country.
yeah,
That's correct.
out there.
Right, I remember that.
And then we pointed out to him a lot of the trailheads going not just off of 49, but John, you could speak up too, off of Triple I Road, all the different trailheads, because they're trying to develop the scenic byway, not just there are 4 areas right now that are scenic byways. So they're trying to move it down towards us to make it more publicized on one map, so that people can, take these views and byways to go through. Any input, John?
Yeah, I think I remember there's been hundreds of complaints of
Oh,
people
yeah.
coming in, tourists coming into the valley, which is our,
GPS wise.
yeah, which is important to us, and the GPS brings them right to that road, and they complain, what are you sending me, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Matt said
it's
that.
a problem.
Yeah,
It's a real
it is a problem.
Well, the paved portion is worse than the dirt portion.
Yeah.
It
Right,
is.
yeah, that's
It is.
true.
I think they actually grade that road at one point,
In the spring.
and then it becomes a whip-de-doo after that.
Yeah, that's what.
Did they discuss at all whether it is withered because of lack of funding? Is it still an act, is it still, is it now been totally given up on, or is there still an active project that says someday if we ever get the funding, maybe we'll fix this?
Well, I think that it was brought up at this meeting with those of us that were there. Irene, in this valley, that we had no other way
Yeah.
out. I'm not sure what Triple I Road looked like then
It was-
either.
It was probably worse than.
Worse than here.
Well, that's because it's dirt, not,
Yeah.
if
Right.
it were properly constructed
Right.
and paved, it may have been different, but.
But that was brought up too, and I don't know. I mean, it might be something that we'd want to pursue with the state, but I bet you they don't have the funds.
It's not the
However,
state, right?
he
It's
did
the
mention a
Forest
grant.
Service.
Yes.
He did mention, and it's funny, after that meeting, that same grant was mentioned on Channel 9 through legislatures, that this money is available, and it's like millions of dollars.
Wow.
Dread funding.
The dread fund, for whatever purposes that. So that was interesting. But Bill was really very informative to a lot of stuff that we didn't know about the valley. So.
And the whole purpose of that meeting was great, to put Waterville on the map, really.
It's too bad that Campton and Thornton weren't there to specify, the scenic areas in their area. There
Yeah.
are some pretty gorgeous and through there and all, but nobody but us showed up.
So what's the upshot of what the North Country Council is gonna do?
This guy is going to draft a new plan showing these items, correct?
Yeah, and Eric sent him something, I forget what you sent him.
Did you send him the maps that you were
Yeah.
gonna?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we mailed him out a map of Waterville, of our hiking club, WVAIA.
yeah.
Because that's what they want to put on in their little booklet. They had a great little booklet, and actually Waterville was in that booklet of, for tourists to say, oh, where can I go today?
Yeah.
But there was a lot of hiking information that we put on, gave him and put in the book.
And we let him know things like, the trails for mountain biking, cross-country skiing, tons of hiking trails here. We've got, Bill, was it he or Bill that said that we have more 4,000 footers around us
I think Bill said that, yeah.
than the rest of New Hampshire, he said.
It was
So we'll have to wait and see, but this North Country Council is drawing up this new map for this thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
And putting us, hopefully,
It's like a new
More in-
statewide map or new northern?
it's
New Hampshire
for
map?
all these scenic byways
In the whole state?
in the whole state.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sort of.
he actually put out a map on the table,
Topographical.
yeah, a nice map, and it was huge, so he had a whole bunch of pencils and pens, So we were marking stuff and
Yep.
putting notes.
Oh, great.
So he was very,
Sledding, you know, anything that was new and appropriate to the town that he had no idea either.
yeah.
And
But, you know,
Yep.
Yeah.
in the sense of, you know, making it clear that
Yep.
Waterville Valley is a center
Yep.
for all of these
Yep.
activities.
Exactly.
And, you know, like I said, we tried to let them know as much, all of us had input as to what was here in this town. I mean, fly fishing, you name it, it's here.
Yeah.
You know, so stress
And
that
yet
a lot.
And not one brochure
Not one
in any of the
brochure.
rest areas about Waterville Valley.
No.
Wow.
I read the minutes and it talked about snowmobile too.
It was mentioned, and I know that Waterville, Cantlin had an idea, and this was brought up, to come in through closed trip country stops, wondering if the mountain would make some sort of access road for them to go and have a parking area there, park their vehicles there, and take a shuttle bus into town. Because the revenue from snowmobiles is amazing. We have, over 1,000 miles of trails interconnected, it was just on the news this morning, interconnected trails within the state of New Hampshire. And Cantlin said that they had thought of it for a long time and nothing happened, and then there was a big poo-poo about it, but he recommended that, you know, for the use of that road in the winter when it's closed from gate to and there are trails up there, but I've never climbed the backside of it. I don't know how rocky it
You're not
is.
gonna get a snowmobile up that trail.
So,
You've been up there.
but it was food for, you know, it's something that he brought up as
Well,
far
the
as economics.
snowmobiles do use the road. I don't know if it's an official trail, but there's snowmobiles that come up out of the Thornton side all the way up to the top of Osceola. On the road surface, not on any of the side
Okay,
trails. But,
yeah.
but they use that for snowmobiling.
Yeah,
And they stop at
gate.
basically the campground because you're not allowed to go
Right.
beyond that.
right.
Right.
He was just thinking of additional revenue for the town.
Does
Yes.
Waterville have an ordinance against snowmobiles?
Mhm.
I have no idea.
Yeah, we do, we do.
Yeah, but that's Forest Service property. Our ordinance service that says no snowmobiles up there
Well, I know
beyond
that
that point.
there's a snowmobile corridor that comes up Triple-I, up to East Pond,
Yeah.
because East Pond Trail
Right.
is a snowmobile,
Yeah.
an official
Right.
snowmobile trail. Right, that takes you up to Livum, up to, the Kank.
Yep.
I don't think it's used much. So it was interesting, I guess.
It was very, I learned a lot just from listening to Bill Cantlin. Learned a lot. He's been here a long time, and there were things that were
Yeah.
just amazing that we didn't know.
Could the committee consider
What, the snowmobile?
Yeah.
well, to do something with that, with Triple I Road and the snowmobiles and the tourists that come in that road? Just a whole, I mean, it's a lot of information that you have to put together and study, but it's something that you
if
shouldn't
you-
just talk about today and 2 years from now say, oh yeah, we should have talked about that more, so.
If you finish that road,
Yeah.
who's gonna maintain it in the winter?
Well, it actually did come up in one of our discussions for the pedestrian village study, the fact that, it's actually when Chris Sununu was here, he said, were brought to the table with it's a real potential, it was a potential catastrophe when Irene came through. If 49
Yeah.
had been cut off and we had
Mm.
any kind of medical emergency.
Mm-hmm.
And according to him, it's being looked at, paving it. So I don't know what the next step is for us as a town. If Mark, if you follow up to see if it's actually, it's gonna be on the docket to get paved, and if it's not, do we look at alternatives?
We've been talking to the Forest Service for about 5 years,
Okay.
even before Irene. It's been the #1 thing in our hazard mitigation plan since I've been here. We've talked to the forest engineer, after Irene. He wants to work on Triple I Road. He wants to make it passable year-round. The Forest Service understands that we need the second point of egress from the town. The other thing that they're looking at is potentially putting a road under the electric power lines. Because those are further off the river. But that's really, it's still controlled by other points on 49 further down, Campton Dam, the bridge in Thornton. So that really doesn't solve anything for a second point of egress, because those places were affected almost as much as ours, our points were. So using Triple I Road, I think would have Forest Service support.
So it's a matter of who would pay for.
It's a matter of who
doing-
would build it, because, you know, you're talking probably a couple million at least.
More.
At
Oh, a
least,
lot
or
more.
more.
Yeah.
Lot more.
So,
Well, supposedly that route, exit number 31 was the most expensive exit to
Right.
build in the state.
Really?
That's what they
And,
said.
you know, it doesn't, it would seem like an obvious argument, well, if you went ahead and did that, why waste that money? Let's finish the job.
So the state, who cut that road just about
Triple
point?
I?
Yes. You don't know? It wasn't the state
It
that cut it.
probably was there before the Forest Service, before this was a national forest. That was probably a road.
it was probably
I
a
just
logging
wondered.
road or
Sometime.
something.
Probably a logging.
Yeah, okay. Just curious.
Well, wasn't
I
it
don't
a
know.
mining road?
It's an interesting
named
question.
after Tripolite, the
Sand.
mineral,
Yeah.
so I thought it was an old mining road.
You think?
There was a railroad went from Lincoln, I think.
That's why it's called
Yeah,
Triple I.
there's a couple of
pond
old
up there.
camps still
Used to
sitting
mine
up
that
there in
pond.
Livermore, right? When
Yeah.
there was a railroad ran up to.
Yeah.
I don't know, Mark, maybe we ought to try to find out in this, I'm assuming it's the state more than anything that would have to bear the cost of doing it. I don't think the federal government's gonna build the road. But we ought to find out what the process is to get a road built. I mean, the state has no money, but
Well,
who knows?
if we have North Country Council support, they can help. Their job is to help us find the grant
Then we
money
should
or
ask,
whatever
yeah.
we need to do stuff like this, so,
Maybe we ought to we ought to write a letter to Ray Burton's successor,
okay.
you know?
Do that.
Fill them in and say, this is a really urgent thing, we've got this long-time problem, we'd like to understand what's involved,
Right.
and having to push an issue of getting a road created.
Okay.
Is it really the job of the planning board, though?
Nah. I don't.
Doesn't matter.
No, it
As
doesn't
long as
matter
it's
who it
from the
comes
town.
I don't
We're
have
getting
to
a
take
little
it
off
from
the
base to
town.
what we.
I think it helps if you sign it.
Yeah.
You know, if Ray and Bill were both to sign it, and it came from the
Sure.
planning board and the
Yeah.
Board of Selectmen,
Yeah,
I think that
Mhm.
helps.
Yeah.
Especially if you tie it into the master, I mean, it's obviously a part of our master plan.
Seems
It's
to-
part of our hazard mitigation plan,
Mhm.
I
so.
remember reading some sort of article that Ray got a hold of that talked about what the responsibilities of the planning board were. And it seemed like it was supposed to be a rather passive board. It seems to be rather active activity.
Well, it's important.
And we're doing a whole transportation
Exactly, it ties in
related.
with our.
Well, the transportation study is a little bit different because it's geared toward the master plan and how we're supposed to deal with things that come up. But I mean, to actively go out and pursue another road into town just doesn't seem like the planning board issue. I don't know.
Well, I kind of agree with you. I think it's a one
No.
town.
It's a town issue.
It's a town issue.
You gotta take something into consideration. I just asked my good friend John, who has control of the gates?
Forest
The answer is the
Service.
Forest
Oh, yeah,
Service.
that's, don't,
Who has that trailer that lets people during the summer in and out of that road?
That's Forest Service.
Forest Service. Somewhere along the line, somebody's gotta talk directly to the Forest Service.
Yes, right. But I would, absolutely.
And they write
you would
down
have to get
27,
their agreement
exit
and
27.
approval to do it, but,
Yeah.
I'm assuming like the Kank runs, that's all Forest Service land, the Kankamekas
Yep.
Highway runs on, but that's a state highway. So it's a process now of getting that designated as a state thoroughfare.
Right.
And
Continuation
I would
49.
imagine we'll all be dead before that ever happens. But it doesn't hurt to start.
I think starting with, politically, you
Yeah.
guys are politicians, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
Politically, my experience is you start at the bottom and work up. So I would start with the Forest Service, because if the Forest Service will sign off on this, that will expedite dealing with the rest of the state and there is federal money. All right, you say it's all state money, that's not true. There is highway money that is available at the federal level to assist states in building certain roads. So that money is available for certain things, but Forest Service is going to have to sign off on this first.
I mean, there's all campsites along there, and the Forest Service has been, every year they keep moving more and more campsites away from the river, moving them on the other side of the road. So if that becomes a paved road, I don't know what happens to the campers.
They're getting rid of a lot of those campsites.
Right.
As they develop, I forget the name of it, but it's on the Woodstock side.
Hicks.
The first one you come to on the right.
Hicks, I think.
Russell Pond.
Russell Pond.
They're
Yes,
they're
Russell
redoing that entire
Oh.
campsite,
Yeah.
and they're getting rid of the roadside campsites.
Oh.
But
Well,
they're
it gets so
developing
dark
the lake
there
more and
in the
more.
summer.
They're developing down, Mark, aren't they developing what's down by the lake more?
Yes.
Yeah, they're making that a much more of a
Yeah.
rec site.
Russell Pond?
Russell Pond.
Yeah.
Well, they
pretty
can't,
down
they can't control those sites the way they are now. They know
That's
they
right,
have problems
exactly.
with drugs and
That's the
stuff up in there,
problem.
and they have no way to get it,
Yeah, but
Yeah.
Russell Pond's a beautiful place.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
But I also thought they were moving campsites down along, I think it's that Hicks Road on the opposite side of Russell Pond.
Yeah,
It's an
well, they're
old
moving
road.
away from Triple I. They're trying to get them into more
Right.
controlled areas.
Right, I know that, right.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Yeah. But that may enhance the ability to be able to widen that.
Yeah, absolutely,
building
right.
As a correct road.
You give them an excuse to get rid of all those
That's right.
campsites along the river.
So I don't think you're gonna run into much opposition
Yeah.
from the Forest Service. It's gonna be a money issue. I think they're gonna be supportive of it, but they don't have any money to kick in for it.
Well, you mentioned those
But
gates.
maybe, maybe they can tell us the process we would have to go through to even do it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know who to get a hold of.
Start at exit 27 and ask them.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you should ask people to,
Yeah.
I'm sure there were some rules.
They would
Yeah.
know.
Because it is gated, and I don't know who gates it. I don't know who.
Forest Service.
Well,
Forest
they don't
Service
do a
puts up
very
and
good
down those
job,
gates.
Because sometimes they open one gate and not the other. I've
Well, that's
caught-
been a problem.
been caught a
There
couple
are
of
sometimes
times.
people come all the way over
Yeah.
and, get almost down the valley and notice the gate's closed on this side, but they failed to close the
That's
gate
right.
on the other side. That's happened a couple
Because
times.
I've gone all the way out
And
to
then you gotta
Fish
turn around
Russell
and go back
Pond.
15 miles, yeah.
Yeah.
And get all the way out to Russell Pond turn and the gate's closed. You've gotta be kidding me.
Ram it.
Okay, I guess that's it. Update on the pedestrian village site. Wendy's been doing a lot of work. and
We are
Kathy,
cooking right
you're
along
cooking.
with this, yes.
Interviews,
Interviews. Yesterday, we finished our in-person stakeholder interviews. There are still, I think, about 4 interviewed via phone. But I think our count was 12 or 13 interviews between Tuesday, the 29th, and then this week, Tuesday and Wednesday, the 6th and 7th. So that part's done and very informative. I think Mark Kane's seeing a lot of trends, a lot of people saying the same thing, and kind of helps them, flush out the realities in the valley, if you will. And the survey is almost finished. We're working on a final draft for the survey, and finishing getting feedback from the committee.
I just
So
gave
that-
him something.
So that should be right. I think out probably by the end of this week, early next week, that should be circulating. And then our next kind of public interaction will be on Saturday, the 24th, in conjunction with the fishing derby. That'll be one of our public meetings. We'll set up a booth to be able to really talk to people, get feedback, and talk with folks then. So we're really, I think we're moving at a really good clip right now. If anyone has any questions?
Anything pop out? Any couple items?
Yeah, I mean, actually the most interesting thing, and this wasn't necessarily from any Kane's observations so far, his suggestion yesterday was that we would be better suited as a planning board if we had a planning staff person, perhaps somebody part-time. In our discussion just barely about like the DREAD grants, and there are lots of grants out there, if we were to have a planning staff who had that educated background in planning, it would really help us facilitate meetings. They could go through, review things, you know, how we kind of all go and check the checklist and whatever on our time, but to have someone who really has that knowledge and does that and can prepare a report for us ahead of the meeting, itself is huge. I mean, I know just from the Resort Association, from the JPP granting we do, it's an insane amount of work, and it really takes somebody dedicated to look at that. So his initial thought, which I thought was pretty interesting, is that it would probably be a position that in the end would more than pay for itself, and what that person could do in both facilitating our time and possibly getting some grants. And that was, but I mean, a lot of interesting comments and feedback from everyone who's taken the time. A lot of people in the community have been very generous with their time to come in and chat and really focus on all of our issues. So, yeah, very interesting.
Interesting comment that he made about the, he said small towns often hire professional land planners just as advisors.
Yeah. Yeah, just on a part-time basis, and he had other examples from other small towns that he's worked with, but he's like, it's great, everyone has all these wonderful, very earnest volunteers, but perhaps lacking that knowledge that could really, if nothing else, make these meetings shorter.
You need a leader.
Yeah.
You need a leader.
Well, yeah, and someone who just has that knowledge.
Who knows?
I rely on Mark a lot, and meetings when he's not here.
Town of Thornton right now is advertising for a 20-hour-a-week planner.
Okay.
And maybe we could share, split that position in half. It would create a full-time, position, but not with the full-time costs for either town.
Right.
So that could be something we could look at.
Yeah.
Their meetings are on Wednesday or Thursday nights, so there wouldn't be a problem as far as conflicts for meetings. And for the most part, there are some other. It's a bordering town.
Yeah. Yeah. That would make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So.
And it'd be easier to find a full-time person
Yes.
than a part-time.
It might be easier. Yeah.
Totally.
Interesting. Do they want someone to start right away then?
They're looking. I don't know how many applicants they've received, but I can find out.
Since we
can't do anything this year, but there's a potential, as they're interviewing, they could find a person who might be available more than just the 20 hours. If it's something that you guys want to pursue.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
Yeah. Yeah.
The survey that's going to go out, that's going to be a mass emailing or something?
To any email we can possibly get our hands on, yes. We've got the list, well, the Mountain won't give us the list, but we'll send the survey to the Mountain. They'll distribute it to their email list. I think there's a lot of overlap. They town, of course.
Yeah.
BBTS is also, Peter Starclosa said he would send it to the BBTS families.
Excellent,
Good. And-
good. And we didn't get to meet with Steve Jacobs from the hockey yet, but I'm hoping that he would do the same thing.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Hockey
because Jan sent out a notice that it was coming,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, it's
So
coming.
that's good,
Yeah,
good, so the word is getting out there.
yes. Yeah. That's good.
You put it in the good way.
Yeah, we should probably put a little notice in the wigwag. Don't forget. Go to the link. Yeah, that'd be good.
Is it the intent to come up with some sort of statistical summary of what these interviews
Ye-
came up with?
Oh, the interviews are kind of broad brushstrokes, I think, if you will. We're looking at a really wide variety of interests in town. And, you know, we're a small town, but we don't always sit together in the same room, and, you know, BBTS and rec department and everyone don't always really communicate as well as we ought to. Just the nature of the beast. And so it's sort of a way for him to be able to hear one person say one thing, and then someone in a totally different, you would think, venue kind of repeat it, and then he just sees those trends, and it kind of helps him identify where to focus and what our greater needs are.
Breakdown is to, 10 ideas and
Yes.
He-
50% of the people are in favor. and
Exactly.
So the decision-making process can have some sort of backing to
Yeah,
it.
yeah, definitely. It's definitely, I mean, they're, of course, bringing in their own expertise and looking at things from the ground from their perspective, but this gives them an in-town
Right.
perspective as well, yes.
Yeah, they'll come back to us with a report
Yeah.
that has compiled, they've compiled the information from all of the information that they've gotten from the stakeholders. That's what I understood
Right.
yesterday
I mean, not
or
like
Tuesday.
identifying who says what, but yeah, just the general.
You know,
themes that
he's
came.
seeing themes that are consistent, and he'll come back to the committee, to the planning board with his compilation of all of those things.
Yeah.
I don't think he'd give us statistics on who said what.
We don't have a
No,
big
I don't
enough,
think
he said
that.
big enough population for
Uh-uh.
statistics.
No.
Maybe 18 people, so you can't.
Right.
Well, but like Terry said, though, he can say over half of the people, or
Right.
Sure,
three-quarters
yes.
of the people
This is-
interviewed said this,
Yes.
or
Exactly.
whatever.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
what you're looking for, right?
Yeah, some sort of an idea as to how they how they came up with their conclusions as to why they want to do this and why they want to do that. And I understand, I'm glad that the interviews are only one part of that,
Yeah.
but
Mm.
if you're going to do the interviews, you should have a breakdown such that you can justify what your reasons are for
Oh,
saying.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but with such a small sample, there's no statistical
Right.
Well,
legitimacy
okay,
anyway.
maybe
Right.
that's the wrong word to
Yeah.
use.
But yeah, so there'll be a sense from the stakeholder meetings as well as a sense from the surveys,
Survey,
a sense
too.
from public meetings
Right.
and their
Portion
own, and their
Yeah.
own expertise, yeah.
Right. Right.
Yep.
Anything else?
Am I forgetting anything, guys? No? I think that sums it up.
Good, thank you. You've put in a lot of work.
Well, everyone has, I
Committee
mean, it's
really-
been, yeah,
It's been really busy.
really good,
Thank you very much.
good project. So really
Learned
exciting,
a
I
lot
think.
just listening, because I covered last Tuesday when you guys were on vacation. Just a lot of information that you just sit there and went, really? You just didn't know. And the input was great. Thought it was really interesting.
It was.
Yeah, and it's good, I think, because I guess even myself, I find that I know a lot of what people are saying, but sitting there with Nancy and you're commenting, oh, I didn't even realize. I'm thinking, well, yeah, you get so immersed in something you forget that not everyone else has access to the same information. So it's good to.
Yep.
And did you find that people, I wasn't able to sit in on more than one, and but my sense was from Rachel that she really appreciated being listened to.
Yeah.
And did you find that the other 17 or whatever also really appreciated that we were asking them
Yes.
and hearing them and that it's
Definitely.
very
Totally
good part of
agree.
the process to
Yeah.
listen to these 18 influencers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
people to know that they're part of the process and not just that we're bowling over them and telling them things. We're listening, definitely.
I was surprised. I sat in on Bob Freeze, and I was amazed, not only as a stakeholder, business person in the town, but the information he offered about the mountain that I didn't know.
We
And
have
it-
so much history.
Oh my God, the history is amazing, and I'm sure Cantlin was the same way when you guys sat
Yeah.
in on
Yeah.
Cantlin. He's full. He's been here forever.
Yeah, it was really good.
You know, and stuff
Excellent.
I would like at that scenic byway thing. He brought up things I never knew
Yeah.
because he's been here for so long. But Bob Freeze was absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
It was good. And Matt
Esser's
Bi-
great.
Matt Hesser's
Yeah.
full of information.
Yeah.
He
Got a lot
really
of
is. It
expertise.
was very good.
Tom was good with Tom Post.
Yes.
I think he was very happy that he was interviewed.
To get a chance to really voice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was
He's
good.
been here for a while.
Yes.
How did he interview with Crisco?
Well, we
Music?
No.
we had a little bit of a delay, and then a couple of Keith Sutherland and John Carpenter came a little bit late, but that was fine. They had, of course, a lot of the day-to-day knowledge that Chris probably wouldn't have had, and then Chris came for the last half hour, 45 minutes of the meeting. So overall, it went well. We got, we really were able to talk a lot about the bus system, which is, of course, an important part of the whole system. So, yeah, overall it went well.
Privilege of the floor?
I got one thing, if I can have 2 minutes of your
Absolutely.
time. So we are continuing on with the water meter installations, and I just would like the planning board's assistance here. We've had a couple of issues with property owners in the developments, and the work that we have been doing.
Why, thank you.
And if everyone could just help, if people approach you, you guys are around town, you're at the post office, people know you're on the planning board, so they tend to tell you stuff. But basically, we're in Village right now. When we finish Village, we're gonna be moving on probably to Osceola and Tecumseh developments, Tri-Pyramid. We still have, I think it's either 8 or 9 developments that we need to go into. So we have multiple pits that we're gonna be digging, probably gonna be at least another month and a half to get all of the installations final. We are still on track to be done before the 4th of July, so hopefully we'll be out before the peak summer season with the meter pits. There have been questions about the time of work. So if you look at our noise ordinance, it's 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. on Saturdays for the start time. No work on Sundays or holidays. That's what our noise ordinance says. In the contract, we limited it even more, so we cut him off at 6 p.m. The only way that he works beyond 6 p.m. is if there's an emergency or a safety issue, and he's got to clean up as quickly as he can. So we're trying to be as inobtrusive as we can, but it is still an excavator and a dump truck and guys working, and I know that causes issues. It's inconvenient, but if people talk to you about it, please tell them if they have a problem, call us. We'll do what we can, and we'll be out of each development as quickly as we can. So we're going to stick this notice in everybody's door in each of the developments as we
go forward now, so when Dana shows up, we'll put it in the door and we'll try to deal with it. But to get support from you guys for this work, we're trying to be good neighbors and get out of there as quickly as possible. It's not been easy. The water lines are, some of them, we ran into one yesterday, it's 9.5 feet deep. It's supposed to be 5 or 6 feet, so it's double the digging that he thought he was gonna have to do. We've run into water lines co-located with sewer lines, and there's supposed to be 10 feet of separation between them. We're running into everything. Electric lines. In Windsor Hill, it was a complete nightmare. We had water lines, gas lines, telephone lines where they weren't supposed to be. Nobody knows where anything is.
Well, I can talk about Windsor Hill. They started at Windsor Hill.
Right.
And they started in an area that they were gonna put in 4 pits to service four buildings. And let's see, the first one, they got the casement in, but they found the sewer line
Was too close.
Too close. So they put the casement in, and they had to drill holes through the casement because the pipes didn't line up. So that worked for overnight, and it filled up with water. So they had to take the casement out and then put a dog leg in the pipe so that it goes in through the sealed one. So they did that one twice. Then they started on the next building, and they broke the telephone line. So they moved up the hill, they dug a hole, and they went down 12 feet and they couldn't reach anymore. So they filled that one in, went up the hill and they did more.
It's just been,
Then they did another one, and that the pipe going into the building was plastic instead of copper.
Right.
So they didn't have the right materials. I think they dug 12 holes to put in 4 pits. And it took them, I don't know, 3 weeks.
It's been difficult. We went to Mad River on the other hand, and everything was fine. The holes were dry, the lines were where they were supposed to be. So, we have had developments where it's gone very well, and, they were in and out of Mad River in a week. So, and they did 6 installations. So that's on the positive side, but there are some that we're running into that have just been a little bit of a challenge. But Dana's still confident he can get everything done by the 4th of July. So
How do these meters work on homes? How do they install
there'll be
them?
internal for the single family homes.
Yeah.
There'll be internal installations, so they'll be in a basement or water closet or wherever the line, it'll depend on where the line comes in. For the internal installations, we are gonna work with the property management companies. Sharon, we've already sent letters out that you all should have received, that asked you to fill out a survey so that we have contact information, telephone and.
When did that go out again, Mark?
That went out 3 weeks, 4 weeks ago. You didn't see?
I haven't
seen
one.
But what if you're,
So I don't think
you
they've
don't have
gone
a
out.
property management association?
Just check again, make sure they've gone out. I have never received.
I haven't either.
I mean, either.
Oh, no, we don't. We're not a property management.
property
We don't have
management.
property
Yeah,
we don't
No,
have
No,
homeowners.
these went to
Individual homeowners
individual
should have received.
homeowners.
No.
Individual
No.
homes?
You didn't receive it?
No.
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 Okay.
I'm glad somebody else said that.
Well,
So I was
especially
like, oh,
where
yeah.
some of us aren't here all summer, and
Oh,
it's
okay. We did the condos, the internal installations that we're doing in the condos.
Okay.
So the single family homes, we will be sending that out
Okay.
as soon as Sharon gets back from vacation.
Okay.
All right, so that's why you guys haven't received.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, thank you, Tom. I was getting worried here, I know, I saw the envelopes. So, okay, so, yeah, so we'll be either working if you use a property manager, or we'll be coordinating directly with you for the installation of those meters. So.
Okay.
But if there are any questions, they can call here. Anybody can call here. Okay.
Privilege of the floor?
The excavation that's going on at the end of Greeley Hill Road going out onto the slope, is that town fixing that road up or to the water tank, or is that the ski, the
It
academy?
must be the academy. We are not doing anything that I'm aware of. Well, we're not doing anything.
It looks like that road's being fixed up, the one that goes up to the water tank.
Wow. That's private property, and as far as I know, we didn't coordinate anything like
Yeah.
that.
And speaking of the academy, have they started with the sidewalks?
No, they haven't.
They
He
have
ta- he
not,
was in
and
here.
Chris-
He was in here. I talked to him the other day when he was doing his interview, and he said that it is in the works for this summer. He also said that he will be coming at our next meeting with their proposal. They've got another building they are going to be putting up, a dorm building
Okay.
over there, and so he'll be coming in with that. But he wasn't prepared to do that today.
Okay. Now, don't they have a temporary occupancy?
They have a temporary occupancy through Memorial Day weekend. So they are supposed to have had that in.
The
by
plan,
now.
the plan.
If he says summer, that has me a
Oh,
little
well,
concerned, so.
You know what?
We'll-
He
we'll-
didn't say
we'll
a
talk to him.
specific date.
Right,
He
right.
didn't at that.
Well,
So
you know, and it
we'll
was
talk to him.
very
It was
informal.
the end of this month that they had until to have it
Because there
finished.
were two things, they were gonna
Right.
do the parking and the
Parking and
sidewalks.
sidewalk. Mhm.
And what was the eventual determination on that temporary permanent little jumping thing they got on the side?
Yeah. Temporary permanent thing on the
Yeah.
side, yeah. What did you approve?
It seemed to me that they had gone to the selectmen, and the selectmen
Yeah.
had said something about, well, it's okay because it's temporary permanent, but it's gonna be gone or redone
Yeah.
sometime this year.
You're not talking about the bag. You're
No, I'm talking about the little jump.
The
jump on the side.
rails, Bill,
Yeah.
the one off to the right as you're looking at the jump.
The one that just kind of started appearing in little bits and pieces.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the one. There was another installation, I think it was the trampoline, that we essentially said if you're gonna, remove it again, if you're gonna take it up and down, it's one thing, It's not a permanent.
I thought it was
I
that.
thought it was the trampoline, but
No, the rail,
I don't remember anything about permanent. You're saying there's rails in there?
Well, it looks like a small, it looks like a skateboard park for snow.
Yeah, terrain park.
Terrain
like
park.
a terrain.
Yeah,
So do they use it
for the
only when it's
snowboards.
snowing?
It's got rails. No, it's got the fake snow on it.
Oh, it's got fake snow.
And
It all looks like crap. So,
Yeah, it does.
and Chris and I have
Yeah,
talked
yeah,
about it. It's
yeah.
not, it hasn't been kept up to the standard that they said they were gonna,
And when it
and
was
it's the
questioned,
whole thing.
Yeah, it
we
looks
questioned
like
them about it when they were here
Yeah.
on the large jump, and they because we asked for them to show it on the plan, they said, well, it's just a temporary thing, and that's when the whole thing
Yeah.
came about, what's temporary and what's permanent. And I understood that they had gone to the selectmen and the select, because it should have been taken out. Originally, they said we were gonna take it out in October.
I'd have to go back and check. We'd have to look at the minutes. I'm not sure what we said, so.
I vaguely remember that. I think I came to the
Right.
selectmen's meeting, because I think you gave them permission for 6 months or something.
Right.
They came back in the spring, and
Right.
they wanted you to extend it, and
If they wanted to make it permanent, right, either that or they're gonna have to get it out. We should go back and check.
Because if it's
Then-
permanent, it should come before the planning
Yeah.
board.
Yeah, it should be
If
site
it is
plan.
permanent,
Absolutely.
yeah,
I think you
absolutely.
extended it on some condition, and
Right.
then they would have to come to the planning board. But
Right.
you're right, Mark, that whole place looks like a gravel pit up there.
Yeah, no, we need to, it's
Either that or we
washing
could
out.
get a little model of a junkyard dog and plant right out there in the middle of the.
Yeah.
Make it, bring it all together.
If you get some cars that are
I think it's well
rusted
within your
out.
purview to do conditional, if they're gonna come in and talk about the next building, they
Right.
gotta keep up what they're getting approved
Right.
before you get something else approved.
Exactly.
It's kind of
Yes.
become a bit of a pattern.
Well, that,
Yeah,
it
it is.
has been a pattern basically with them since the get-go. you know, as far as doing things.
Well, they're not big on landscaping.
Or doing what they promise.
The next time you can approve a building, what you're gonna have to do, essentially say, is before you
Mhm.
can dig in the ground, you gotta put the landscaping in.
At least show you a plan.
Well, you
Oh,
can-
no, they
Landscaping
had
plan.
plans, they
They
had
have
lots of
plans,
plans,
they
and they don't
haven't
do
done
it.
it.
Oh,
Yeah, they just don't do it.
okay.
And you get into the age-old problem as to what authority does the town really have if they don't, once you grant approval to use it, you've granted approval. There's
Yeah,
not
but you
much you
don't-
can do.
But if
You
they don't do
you
what they
have to-
say,
you don't
shouldn't there
have
be like a consequence? Now, unless you do the whole thing, we're gonna shut you down or something like that?
That's the
It's
problem.
who's
Once
the
you grant
enforcer?
approval, you have
Okay,
limited
enforcing.
authority to go back and ungrant it.
Well, once
It's
you
the
grant
No,
the
but
enforcing issue.
occupancy
you could
permit.
not,
Yeah.
you could not extend the occupancy.
Right. They have a temporary
I was
occupancy.
kinda
If it
curious
was
whether they-
temporary,
It
right.
is temporary.
Oh, yeah, right.
Because it was
Oh, yeah,
temporary
no, if
based
it's
on the
temporary
sidewalk.
occupancy permit, there's lots you can do, but if it's
Right.
permanent, it's permanent.
You could
Yeah.
just not approve it
Not approve it.
till
Right.
the work is done.
Right.
Right.
Does that include cleaning up jump area and all of
No.
those things
No.
also? No?
No.
Unfortunately, that wasn't part.
It's just for the
cleanup was
building.
not part of any approval,
Okay.
but the sidewalks and the parking was,
But that's not in conjunction with the jump, and wouldn't it be based on that approval? I mean,
what's that?
if everything, if all of the jumps and rail that it's cruddy now is right in conjunction with the jump, we wouldn't lump those together and.
Well, the question on that is whether it's temporary or permanent. If it's temporary and it's gonna be taken out, it doesn't have to come before the board, but if it's permanent, then it should be
Yeah.
a presented site plan. And I guess the problem is that it's there, it's been there a year. We've never seen it.
Well, it's either gotta
Site
be
plan.
removed or they gotta come in for
Yeah.
site plan.
Okay.
That's,
I remember the selectmen extended the approval for a certain time, but I don't remember how long it was. Was it to the spring or? Probably to the spring. Probably, you have to check the minutes.
And Memorial Day is a good guess.
But I would,
Yeah, because I remember the builder saying, oh, right away, that's the first thing I'm gonna do.
Because
As soon as
it-
I can dig in the spring, I'll be back.
Yeah.
you know, because of their history, I'd say, you know, that temporary shouldn't get extended.
right.
We just don't have any luck in it.
First, we should know what the status is for next meeting, since they're gonna be coming in with a
Mm-hmm.
presentation, so.
Yeah,
Okay.
we should give them a heads up.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I can go and give him a heads up. I talked to him. I talked to him the other day, so I don't have a problem with that.
Yep.
Okay,
One more thing.
you got one more? Okay.
Just want to hear it. Is there any way you put page numbers on these minutes? That would be helpful. Get these long ones. That's it.
No, Jim.
Oh, yeah. Move adjourn.
Okay.
I'll
Second. Good.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.